McCormick. When you take advantage of a disabled person, yeah, you're breaking the law. Whether it's for monetary gain, that's financial, or just because you want to feel dominant and superior, or because you see it as a way to get a play for your drugs, it's still wrong. Rick McCormick, with all his bullshit, he wanted to try to pretend like I took advantage of Andre Gagasian and took some money for something that I intended on doing that I never actually intended on doing and just wanted to take the guy's money. Whereas the actual evidence shows that, first of all, Andre Gagasian did want something. I did intend on building it. Then he told me he wanted to use it to kill people, and I decided I didn't want to do it. He also let me know that if I decided I didn't want to do it, I was under no obligation to refund his money or give his tools back, which is good because a lot of that shit ended up getting stolen anyway because I was still stuck homeless. With Andre Gagasian wanting to... And, you know, I told my dad about it. My dad said he thought it was a setup. You know, I had taken the money. My dad said, hey, Sean, you know what, you can come up here. If you spend that money that guy gave you to make the engine, if you spend it to come up here, I'll reimburse you when you get up here. Well, he didn't. Anyway, I got the tools and materials that I needed to make the engine, and that's when Andre Gagasian let me know that he wanted to use it for killing people. So Rick McCormick, not knowing what the fuck was going on, by the way, there's a GUGASIANWEAPONRY is a conversation between me and Mr. Gagasian. Basically, I try to talk so much that he absolutely is going to burst, and he spills the beans. He wanted to use my engine to go to Azerbaijan and use it for killing people there. Well, that don't sound like fun. And then he thought he would make a play on the fact that I was sticking up for Israel at the time. Well, I stick up for Palestinians too. But he thought he'd use that, oh, well, these are friends with Israel, so you should help them. No, you can go ahead and try to utilize that to manipulate me into doing it, but no. I'm not going to help you fucking kill people, asshole. So, the thing is, I needed people to actually speak up. I needed Shannon Alvarado to speak up about the Kara Johnson Miles situation instead of me having to record conversations and put them on the internet. Like, wouldn't it have been far less shameful for her and for Rick just to stick with what they knew? Wouldn't it have been, I don't know, easier for them just to be honest from the start? Just a suggestion. When Rick wanted to pretend like I was just gonna offer to do something, not intend on doing it, just take somebody's money and run with it, that was not my intent. My intent was to make the world a better place. When I got onto that YouTube video on Maddox Motors and tried letting Mr. Maddox know that he could have my steam pulse engine for free, he could have the designs, I would send them to him. Then this Gagasian guy was looking on there trying to research pulse jets so that he could make a weapon for Azerbaijan that was cheap and easy. So basically, Rick McCormick tried to utilize a guy who was a terrorist, an American terrorist. This guy is in New Jersey, Andre Gugasian. Gugasian weaponry. If you look that up on my YouTube channel, you'll get to hear that conversation. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there where you do get to hear me bullshitting the guy. Most of those numbers are not correct. Some of them are very, very, very close. But basically, it was about me trying to get his intent. Me getting him to talk about his intent. And, yeah, people don't look at the evidence that's on my channel because they come on here to see how crazy I am. Okay. Then we got Leslie Snell. When she got busted trying to give my number out, knowing the abuse that I had gone through. Yeah, she and DaCosta did everything that they could to make sure that I couldn't take them to court. Scott DaCosta had been doing that before he ever hired Leslie. When she broke the law to help protect him repeatedly, I mean, that was fucked up. The fact that she tried to give out my number because she was pissed off that as the 911 dispatcher for Dual County, Nebraska, she was recorded and on my channel. That she had wanted, obviously, to take action against me for recording it. But it's not against the law. She wanted to retaliate. And she found a way to work together with Scott DaCosta to retaliate after they had done everything they could to prevent me from turning in my predators. That included Scott DaCosta. And that included Leslie Snell. See, here's the thing. These people all had motive, and their motives are recorded. Scott DaCosta and I are recorded having a conversation about how Leslie Snell was pissed off that she was recorded and on my channel. Well, that goes with the fucking territory of the job that she's got. She was there on multiple occasions when I spoke to Scott DaCosta about the issues with my telephone. She's even recorded in multiple conversations on the phone and in person. And she outright lied in court. And no matter what, the judge had already decided before court ever got started who was right and who was wrong. Didn't bother to care about the circumstances, and the help that I had was Mandy Singer. Mandy Singer was supposed to help me. Now, she was monetarily compensated for helping me. She was given $400 so that she could spend money to get a computer, and she would have money for the first 5 hours of help, $20 an hour. Not fun. Now, when I got there, it was a whole bunch of shit that was not my fault. The issues with COVID were not my fault. The issues with her grandkids were not my fault. The issues with her daughter were not my fault. The issues with her housing were not my fault. The issues with her having to spend all that time going through and finding out exactly what her mileage was in every single delivery. They wanted to make her life hell because she's low income. They want her to spend 40 hours a week working on their shit and then another 40 hours a week working for some other agency's bullshit to get them every single little last detail so they can fucking penny pinch the shit out of the situation. Imagine how much time those people get paid. All right, how much time they spend out on people like Mandy. Mandy just never spoke up. She was going to try to do the thing, go into court with me to turn this in. But then she told me she couldn't. She said her and her daughter were both going to try, but then they weren't able to. That's not my fault. But I needed them to help me to turn that in. That is the whole point. That's what she was paid for. The fact that she wasn't able to is not my fault. The fact that we weren't able to meet up when we were supposed to, that's when I was getting harassed again by Scott DaCosta and his deputies who repeatedly committed crimes against me. I need help going through this evidence. I need someone to look at it and fucking verify it, not somebody who's going to get fucking twacked at their goddamn job and fuckle Tweedledee and Tweedledum and fucking play with her thumbs like my little sister did. There is too much for one person to go through, especially when they don't have a place to do it. Just staying warm and keeping my electronics charged up in this vehicle cost me $20 a fucking day. $20 a day. $20 a day times 30 days is how much? That's $600. As much as I get for disability here, that leaves me with less than $100, or sorry, less than $200 to pay my insurance on. Any kind of food that I got to eat, thank goodness there's feeds around here where I can take some food to go with me. A lot of places won't do that. You know, then there's every other expense that I have. In order to have the internet and fucking sit down in a Starbucks or any place like that, I got to pay money. To go to the library, to have what do you call that? Fuck it don't matter. It's all expenses. Meanwhile, I have to worry about the essentials, keeping myself alive. I mean, I got most of this stuff in here is for keeping myself alive. And when I do spend $1.99 on stuff like this, you know, that's to help keep my mind fucking sane. There's a lot of times where I just have to sit and go, hey, I got shit I need to do. But if I do it alone, nothing fucking happens. And that's what people don't get. People with families, they say, oh, no, it's not like that. I'm like, you're helping your family. You know, they understand. There's 6 of you. When I go in, it's just me. You don't explain to them that I'm being abused. If I was family, that's the first thing somebody would fucking say is, hey, he's being abused. He needs help. He's being abused. But you got to get them to sit down and look at that. And when it's last minute, oh yeah, well, we'll go in on this day at this time, and I'm not going to find out what's going on between now and then. They got their own shit going on, right? Everybody's got their own shit going on. With Shannon Alvarado, it wasn't her fault. Not her fault. No, none of the stuff that she did, none of the ways that she treated others there was her fault. And she was like that every fucking night. When I finally had a mental fucking breakdown about it, because I'd been in her house for like 2 weeks. So far, it'd just been the sandwich treatment. I thought you were going to help me, Shannon. Why aren't we looking at the fucking evidence like you said that you would, Shannon? We need to turn this shit in. Help me to turn it in. You are a fucking witness to the fucking harassment and threats and fucking bullying. You are an active participant in the situations. By not coming forward and not actually helping me come forward, you helped Kara Johnson Miles to get away with the crimes that she committed. To this day, I can get something done, but you have to fucking help. And what did she do? She fucking got drunk. And who was her scapegoat? Her daughter. Holy shit, she blamed everything on her daughter. Everything's her daughter's fault. Oh, you gotta understand it's difficult to, yeah, and you drown it out with alcohol. And then you are not a productive member of anything. You're just a fucking crazy person. And yes, Shannon Alvarado is fucking crazy when she's drinking. And it starts immediately. Like fast enough that you're going, oh my God, there has not been time for her to get drunk. She's halfway through a wine glass. She just poured it 30 seconds ago. There is no way she's drunk already. But as soon as she tastes the alcohol, it makes that connection. And all of a sudden she can be like that. I gotta make sure that my vehicle is somewhat safe. I can't fix the speedometer on it. I don't have the money for that. I gotta apportion my money out to different things. What's necessary and what's essential. I got me a bunch of wire. There's a bunch of stuff on this vehicle that's held together by tape. It would hold together better if I had wire to do it. I got projects where I'm going to be having little snippets of wire left over, and it's heavy gauge, which means that that stuff right there will help to hold this vehicle together. I got 2 brand new tires on this vehicle on the front. Lucky for me, it's a Honda Civic, so they're small and cheap. I've been driving on... The tread's been poking out on that since I was in Hood River. You get to hear that conversation with one of those officers in the Dalles when he's talking to me and he's trying to... Let me tell you the scenario. All right, so I was in the Dalles. I was supposed to go there to talk to some people from CARE and also from Department of Health and Human Services and also the State Patrol. I never made it to go to the State Patrol because the DHS offices were all playing stupid. At first they were going to help me, and then all of a sudden they wanted to play fucking victim and all sorts of shit like that, and I had to try to turn them in, and always alone. That's the thing, is that it's always alone. And when there's somebody who wanted to threaten, harass, and intimidate me, and then they want to send me to that person and say, you have to turn it into them. Are you fucking kidding me? So that officer, when I was trying to tell him what was going on, and I was making a video about it. Now, mind you, I'm being harmed by videos that other people have made that don't tell the truth, and it makes me a target. I'm a disabled person who cannot defend himself or protect himself. I don't have any way to defend myself against that except coming to YouTube and speaking up and hoping someone gives a shit enough to fucking do something. Actually do something, not give me pretty words or pawn it off on a fucking terrorist. God, Rick, that's fucking not bright. Now you look like a fucking dumbass because the evidence of the fucking shit with Andre Gagasian is on my YouTube as well. And here you are treating me like I'm a horrible person for, well, for what? For taking that money that that guy wanted an engine belt for? I took the money to build an engine, not a weapon. When he told me he was wanting to build a weapon, I stopped trying to build it and I started trying to turn him in. I don't want to be building weapons for killing people for Andre Gagasian. Being blackmailed into making one in Chapel, Nebraska. That's not cool. Was blackmailed into making a rifle. I don't understand why the guy couldn't just take my money and buy his own fucking rifle, have somebody else do it. I was already fucking done with it, and I was sorry I broke his shit. That's one of the things about being completely broke. False charges will screw you over, so you try to make ends meet. All my disability money was going to travel around to places and make people happy who promised they would help me if I did this and I did that, and I get there and they're fucked up. And then Shannon Alvarado being like that every single night, you know, until I had a mental breakdown. And then, of course, I'm a bad person for having a mental breakdown. But see, here's the thing, is that Shannon Alvarado and Rick McCormick do that in front of the kids. In front of the kids, fucking daily and nightly, over fucking the dumbest shit. And I just gotta hide in the corner and be quiet and wait my turn. But when's it gonna be my turn? I needed her help turning in Kara Johnson Miles and turned in the situations with the cops. Shannon Alvarado was a key witness in that situation. But she made zero effort to help me to turn it in, ever. She didn't help me to turn in any of those situations. If she'd have taken the time to make the calls with me, take the time to make the calls with me like you said you would. Take the time to look at evidence and fucking help me turn it in like you said you would. Instead, getting drunk and asking me how to pass a whiz quiz on alcohol. Well, I don't fucking know. I never tried to pass a whiz quiz on alcohol. When I drank, I knew I was fucking drunk. I wasn't trying to pass a whiz quiz. I was just trying to get drunk. I never even thought about having to do that. And everybody wants to pawn it off on somebody else. So I got the cops procrastinating and tell me it's some other agency's job always. Or telling me that I have to turn it into their superiors, and I turn it into their superiors who help them get away with it. Help them move on to somewhere else so that charges can't be pressed against them. Using that as an excuse not to do something about those criminals. How many times did I go to Scott DaCosta because I was told to about Jared Hahn? A lot. And finally, Scott DaCosta wants to insinuate that Jared Hahn is no longer there, no longer in Chapel, and cannot be pursued because he's moved on. Got another job somewhere else. He didn't even leave Chapel. Jared Hahn is now on the city council. Well, these people pursued me and my family. My little sister lives in that town. You know how scary that is for me? And y'all pretend like I'm a fucking idiot who doesn't know my head from my asshole. That ain't the case. I grew up in the fucking system. I also know my limitations. I also know what funds I have, and I know where they came from. And I know how it's played by my fucking predators. People tell me that I got to do things that are going to be taken wrong. And then when those things are taken wrong, those people don't speak up. and admit, yeah, I told Sean I wasn't going to help him unless he did that. Well, why not? So many people say, hey man, you know what? You need to fess up to your own shit. I'm the only one that fucking does. I don't use imaginary things that did not happen as an excuse to fucking do horrible, horrible shit to people. Now, if there's a situation where a woman is playing like it's an emergency, like with Jamie Curtis and with Natalie Bollinger, then yeah, I definitely pay attention to that and will do something that is, well, an emergency thing to do. Jamie Curtis lets me know that her life is at risk because of James Payton. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. At that point, when she disappears for 2 weeks after telling me, hey, Sean, if I disappear, fucking just understand I'm afraid of James Payton and I live in the same town as him. So I was supposed to keep in contact with her once a week. When she didn't answer, I got afraid. That was because of a situation that she had set up. She is the one who let me know that there was a safety issue there with James still at that point. And I've spoken with James and several others since then. But at that point in time, the way that she had presented the situation, because she was playing, I was definitely afraid that James had done something to her. When Natalie disappeared, there was a few things on my plate. There was Mandy Singer's son missing, and she could have spoken up about that instead of letting people treat me like I'm a fucking schizophrenic for 6 years, but she couldn't because she was all strung out on fucking drugs. At least she admitted it. I also got Miss Peaches, that's Kayla Trujillo, admitting to fucking selling drugs. That she was a drug dealer. That did impact it. When I was at Shannon Alvarado's, I had one incident, where I had a severe fucking panic attack over the fact that I was there at Shannon Alvarado's already for like 2 weeks. Graham Milborn had not sent the evidence that I needed to go through, but I had stuff on the internet I could go through, and Shannon Alvarado wasn't taking any time to look at any of it because she was busy getting drunk and screaming at Rick. That'll drive you to fucking drinking. I needed her help turning in Kara Johnson Miles and the Bollinger family. She was a key person in that incident, in that situation, and as a result, her testimony does need to be brought forward in court, and it will allow me to get new court dates. And that's the thing that she didn't want to try to understand. Shannon, I can get new court dates because what was done to me is illegal. You're a witness to that, which means you need to come forward or they're going to get away with it. But she didn't want to understand that. It's difficult for an alcoholic to understand simple concepts. And while I was there, there's a lot of things that were answered, you know, like, why is she like that? Oh, she's an alcoholic. All right, that makes sense now. Knowing she's an alcoholic, a lot of the stuff that she had said and done before I ever met her, it made sense after I knew she was an alcoholic. It's still crazy shit. No doubt about that. always someone else, though, isn't it? You guys pretend that's the way I am. No? I admit to my shit. When I lit a fire, I admitted to lighting the fire. If I hadn't told on myself for lighting the fire, nobody'd even known I lit the fire. Like, I handed myself and all of the evidence over to the fucking cops on a silver fucking platter to try to force them to do their fucking jobs. And even then, all they were interested in was covering up for my predators. It was obvious that those officers held a bias against me. Also, their own paperwork shows that my predators, like Kara Johnson Miles, were heavily involved in that entire situation. Literally, the predators that I was trying to turn in. And I made a Facebook post about it. About how I literally had to break the law and post about it on the YouTube or on Facebook in the hopes that my predators might turn it in, because the cops will listen to them and they won't listen to me unless people like Peaches come forward in court and to the cops with me. I will be threatened, harassed, and intimidated if I have to go in alone. But none of these people took it seriously, and then people died. And then these people who didn't take it seriously wanted to be angry with me because they did wrong and my loved ones are dead and I'm cursing? Fuck you. Candace Bondurant hiding behind her kids. Who was it that threatened her kids? Not me. How about Leslie Snell? Who threatened her kids? Not me. Her kids getting bullied at school? Not my fault. I'm not the one making those kids bully her kids. And that's the thing. None of the law was followed through any of this because nobody fucking cared. The mentally ill treatment means you have zero fucking rights. When you're forced into homelessness and you got to deal with people like Robert Farnsworth, or you got to deal with people like Molly, or you got to deal with dumbasses like Tom. These are all very dangerous things and dangerous situations, and people say, oh, just stay away from them. Jesus fucking Christ. Holy shit, that means moving, stupid. How many times should I have to move? How many, huh? We got a lot of people who promised they were going to help right at the very beginning when Natalie disappeared. And then because of people like Candace Bondurant misleading the situation intentionally. She didn't want people to know she was involved. She also didn't want people to know that I told the truth. I got recordings with her mom about the situation, by the way. There's also Laura Nelson. She's recorded on my YouTube channel. Recordings with police over and over again telling me it's not their job while other people tell me it is. They just bounce me around and then they go, oh, well, we already investigated ourselves and found we did no wrong. Are you fucking kidding me? How can you investigate without getting any of the evidence? They were supposed to gun a tribe, but instead they went out of their way to help my predators to get that evidence. The people who I was told were supposed to investigate the situation with Scott DaCosta. This is people who were supposed to investigate him in 2018. Were supposed to get a hold of me and never did. State Patrol. I called them repeatedly, was repeatedly sent to all these different departments who all told me it wasn't their job, it was somebody else's. 6 years of it's always somebody else's job. I don't want to make this video anymore. When I got to put antifreeze in my vehicle, or I got to put oil in it, that's added expenses. If I got to clean out my vehicle and pay for storage, that's added expenses. That's $70 a month for storage. I got to worry about the safety of my evidence. If I had family who cared, they would fucking look at my evidence. They would try to keep it fucking safe. And if I got arrested on bogus fucking charges, they would try to do something with the fucking evidence. But nobody cared. And still nobody cares. If we schedule for you to help me on Monday and you don't show up on Monday and you don't show up on Tuesday, but you reschedule with me on Tuesday to do it Wednesday, and then Wednesday you're not there, Thursday you're not there. Meanwhile, there's other people that I had appointments with and they all did the same thing, and then all of a sudden you want to show up while I'm in the middle of something with somebody else and become the center of attention. Why does it have to be a center of attention thing? You need to listen to the fucking victim, not talk over them. The situation with the officer there at DHS, that's one of those situations too. While I was making a video about the fact that I had called them about a safety issue, there was some of my trolls getting on and harassing me. And they were making some pretty mean fucking accusations, claiming I was a pedophile and shit like that. That was the name of it. Sean David is a pedophile or some shit like that. I'm like, hey, when he showed up, although there was multiple safety issues there in the Dalles, I was just trying to ask him a simple yes or no fucking question. You see the person who's typing at me right here on my YouTube? You see the name of the profile? And then he wanted to go off on a fucking tangent about that. You know, I'm being harmed over YouTube posts and news posts that are untrue, that share untrue information or misleading information over and over and over again. But that officer, obviously, when he showed up, he was already aware of who I was. His statements made that very loud and clear. He wanted to focus on my videos and claiming that I am somehow deserving of this because I make videos all the time. I'm always trying to get help. Actual help, not bullshit that wastes my resources. Look at all of these agencies that I've gone to and called. Look at how much time and money and fucking effort I have exhausted to get zero help from government programs that are literally set up to help people like me. None of them are doing their jobs because people like Shannon Alvarado aren't going to do anything but get fucking drunk, feel sorry for themselves, and treat people like shit when they're drunk. Does that help? How about Graham Milborn with all of his Jesus bullshit? All right, fine, I'll bite. Show me your Jesus. Come forward and tell the truth. Oh, wait. Smoking pot and getting drunk is more important. I forgot about that part. Well done. I literally had to break the law to try to get help because people were harming me. People were breaking the law. They were threatening to kill me and my loved ones. And of course, everybody treated me like it was no big thing. When I threatened my predators back, literally the people who had threatened to kill me and threatened to kill my family, when I threatened them back, people who I was not threatening the life of pretended like I was threatening their lives. And of course, the cops helped them to have a day in court without me, where I couldn't face my fucking accusers, where I couldn't show evidence, where they misled the situation. And my own public pretender, somehow magically she's out of town for a whole fucking week. And then she gets into an accident where she's not injured and has no evidence to fucking produce. But lo and behold, it makes it so that the courts get away with breaking the law on multiple occasions because she just didn't want to do her fucking job and did not show up. And nobody fucking cares. If you're not speaking up about what I'm going through or trying to look at fucking evidence of it, if you're not asking to see it and trying to fucking share it, you are not helping. When you are a witness to multiple situations, including the fact that I tried to get help, maybe you should look at that. Look at the fact that what's on my court documents and the conversation, the actual witnesses do not line up. But these witnesses needed to come forward and fucking speak up, or it didn't make a difference. No matter what they did, it wasn't help unless they fucking spoke up. They needed to admit that I had gone to them for help. They needed to admit the help that I was trying to get. They had needed to admit the help that they had offered and that I had shown up, that I had tried to keep my word. There's a lot of people who offered to help that I didn't go do what they wanted because I couldn't do what 50 different people want me to do. There's no possible fucking way. I am one person. That is not help. You're overwhelming me, not helping. You're not listening. You're talking. You're telling me how to think and how to feel and where to go and what to do when I'm there. But you're not doing it with me, so you have no fucking clue. There's a lot of people who send me to resources here that don't help. And then I say, hey, yeah, I did go to that resource you asked me to go to. They didn't help. Well, I told you they wouldn't help. Well, then why'd you tell me to fucking go there? And all these people that were witnesses, like witnesses of the situation with Molly, you got to hear Dallas, he was going to go in with me, has yet to do so. Fucking he just figures if he ignores it, it's no big thing. Well, it is a big thing. The effect that it has had on my life in this town, it's not okay. But not just Dallas, there's also Jason, and there's also Scott, and there's also Jared, and there's also, well, there's a lot of different witnesses, and Luke, and what's that other kid's name? There's also Caleb, who's one of the store managers here. I mean, and Rob as well. I mean, there's a lot of witnesses to the fucking crazy shit that Molly was doing. Caleb, one of the things he was telling me about was he was apparently the one who had to go out and tell Tom he needed to move. He couldn't just stay under a blanket with the blanket over his head in their parking lot. It was creepy. So Caleb was the one that told him he couldn't. And Caleb told me that. He let me know. And that's pretty cool. When there's somebody who's there in person, like you get to see with Kat in one of the situations in Hood River where the cops wanted to harass me over what someone else did. And they did that like 2 or 3 different times over the same dude with the rock, by the way. They already knew I wasn't him, but they were harassing me anyway. They also ended up lying to a man who ended up stalking me here to Tillamook. A lot of people want to use situations that they weren't there for, like the situation with Andre Agassi, as their excuse for the horrible shit that they did, or to, of course, sidestep their fault in the situation and try to push it off onto you. Oh, well, you took advantage of that guy. No, I didn't. You misled the situation. But he also told me if I wasn't comfortable doing that, making weapons, that I didn't have to give it back. And I've got that in my emails too. His correspondence. No, I'm not going to make engines for you to go kill people with. Why was Rick like that? Because he was angry that I told the truth about the situation with him and with Shannon Alvarado and the way that they acted. Yes, most of the time it was her targeting him. He was the one stuck in the subservient position. Now, with this evidence being on Facebook and me literally trying to find someone to sit down with me and look at it and fucking speak up, you know, I get people to look at it for a few minutes in exchange for, well, it depends on what they want at the time. Yes, I will fucking pay for your coffee if you sit down and verify evidence. Does it exist? Is it here? If you're able to fucking help me get it sent out, more's the better. Right now, though, I don't have enough money to survive the month off. My bills for next month are going to be more than I make in a month. And that's not counting the $600 it's going to take just to keep myself warm with this thing. Anyway, I needed to turn in the DHS guy who was intimidating me and threatening me when I was in the Dells to that officer. That didn't get to happen. And then when I was trying to turn that officer in, the other officer wanted to fucking divert and make it a mental health thing. And the mental health guy came out and explained it wasn't a mental health thing. It was a fucking thing the police did. You ever get sick of that shit? Like, these guys wash each other's backs. You need somebody there with you. And when they give you that bullshit and try to intimidate you, you need to know your fucking rights. That's the thing, is that I know my fucking rights. So when you want to fucking argue with me over my fucking rights, pay attention to the fact that I have had false charges pressed against me at least a dozen and a half times in the last 6 years. False charges. Sorry, closer to 2 dozen. It's a lot closer to 2 dozen. Now, why is it that they had to repeatedly drop charges due to lack of evidence? Because there was no fucking evidence. They arrested me and fucking locked me up repeatedly on zero fucking evidence. If I broke the law, I had to tell on myself. When I lit that fire on the road at Ken and Leah's, yeah, I was in the fucking road. I didn't go off in the middle of nowhere and light some brush fire. No, I fucking went and bought a gas container, poured the gasoline into the fucking container, went to Ken and Leah's, fucking hyped myself up. This is the only way I'm going to get the cops to actually do their fucking jobs and actually look at this fucking evidence. Well, it's what I got to do. So, of course, I put a strip of gas right next to their vehicle and fucking tried to light it up. It didn't work the first time, so I had to try it again. I did eventually get it to work. And then I got on the internet and I admitted to it. Not only that, not only did I admit to it, I went and talked to Miss Peaches, that's Kayla Trujillo. And then I went to where I said I would go. I went to Starbucks and I sat there and I waited for the cops. I made sure it was in different jurisdictions. Well, they can sure as hell work across jurisdictions. You got to see that. I literally threatened to kill the President of the United States at that point. I mean, I was trying to get the Secret Service involved. I even made my intentions known. What I'm trying to do is get a day in court. You guys ignoring it is only forcing me to have to do illegal things. Being homeless is illegal everywhere in the United States. There are not enough beds for all of us. Nobody cares about the homeless until they're homeless themselves, and by then, of course, it's too late. Good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.